Hello everyone, today I invite you to watch Žemaitijos Taurė first stage, which happened in Akmenės. 2024 season starting to spin up in Lithuania, and we are going to see a lot of races coming up. If you ask me, Akmenės MTB, the course which we are going to watch here, is one of the hardest in Lithuania, simply because it has a lot of unrolling meadow, and in general it has a lot of single tracks in the forest, which is also in the meadow of some sort, so it's bumpy, grumpy and complicated to ride track, but I can assure you that it's worth watching at first, and then if you liked what you see, and even if you didn't like what you saw in terms of the course, I strongly encourage you to try it at least once. So without further ado, let's just have a look what's so exceptional in this course. So we're at the Auto Motocross course, which is the start place for this race. It's nearby Akmenės. And as usual, even though the new season starts, behavior doesn't change that fast. So in front you can see a lot of guys which just put their bikes in front of you and they don't care. Those two exceptional guys can be mentioned just at the starting line. Is that first, the one didn't even clip his pedals before the start, so when official said start, then he looked at his pedals and started doing something. Before the start, you should clip in at least one of your feet, so that way you can start moving faster. And the other is Šarūnas in front, who clipped in his both pedals earlier, and he started 2 seconds before the official race start. Why? I don't know. And then apparently there was one guy who decided to go in the course with gravel bike, so good luck for him, but he made a maneuver which almost resulted in a crash, so you can see that I added some skull. It's kind of a markup to catch him during the race. Because of a poor start, the gap kind of opened, and I, no matter what, tried to get a bit more in front, so you can see that I'm wasting energy on the right, because the guys goes in a single row and there is no place for me to go anywhere else. But it's not a big deal. I just had to increase my watts a bit more than I would want to maybe, and as well as the heart rate. On the right you could have seen Aivaras Meškauskas, who recorded almost the fastest time on this starting loop. And also on the right there was Lucky Media. Right down after that initial starting loop there was added a new element in the course where you have to go at the motocross steep uphill. So that was a nice addition, at least for elite group, because we were not that much of a mass going. In the elite group on this day started 60 people or so. But when amateurs started going in that climb, it was a bit complicated for them, and it was a bottleneck, so people had to go off the bike, etc. Anyways, it was nice addition. Moved in the gravel road where you can see that a lot lighter guy on a gravel bike accelerates like hell, and in order to try to maintain him and close that gap, you have to consume a lot of energy. Sarika from Kona Cycling on the right didn't manage to get on his wheel, but he noticed that I'm trying, so he jumped on my wheel and we are coasting down on this gravel road towards the gravel bike, which eventually, I'm not sure what was the reason why, I believe it's Kondrotas, he chosen this bike, but maybe he's just trying to prepare for Tartu MTB and he is going potentially with gravel this time around, because last year he was on a hardtail and he actually did quite good result. On this corner I kind of expected that maybe I could try to overtake him, but you can see that he accelerated again very fast on standing position. It was completely, I would say, impossible for me in this area, so I just continued going afterwards. And here a funny part started for him, where it was a very bumpy kind of pump track in the forest. It's naturally made, probably, but it was like a lot of waves with a high amplitude. So on the gravel it was very hard to do, and you can see that on the second lap in this area I did it almost twice faster in terms of the speed in this section. So you can see that the gap already opened up in front among our riders. So whoever was after this gravel guy had to make the decision to overtake him, and we chosen to do that. On the right you can see there's our guy in not the best place, but there was no other option. So 1000 watts and we are off to go. So in front there was Justinas Ožiūnas, who on the first lap actually I asked on Instagram why he didn't make those jumps. So he said that it was just first lap of the race and he didn't knew the course. Myself, I ridden this last year, so I kind of knew that something similar was last year, and actually this year it was improved, so it was kind of safe for me from my eyes to ride those. But you can see that the gap from Justinas was already huge, but on those jumps I managed to cut it down. However, once this meadow started, it was completely impossible to go after him. He just flew away and I had no other option as to just watch his back in the distance. Thankfully, 2 years in a row, the weather in Akmenė is just brilliant. Even though there were some wet sections, it was sunny, it was pretty dry compared to what it could look like, so we were lucky in this term. This was the longest straight in the lap of the course, and thankfully Kristijonas Rauba went in front and I didn't have to suffer that much going in the headwind, because this straight is somewhat very hard to ride when you are in front. So thankfully he decided to make that move. However, I got quite a lot of mud from his rear tire, but that was completely nothing compared to what it looks like when you are going in the headwind. So he made a great job on this section, and because he was on the hardtail, I decided to go in front because we were coasting towards another set of single tracks of some sort. On this day, somehow I felt quite good on the single tracks. And even though sometimes I maybe braked a bit too much, but it wasn't that much problematic like it used to be for me in the past. Maybe I was a bit too slow for others who were riding in the back, but at least they didn't shout it, "Go faster, you slow punk." There was a huge hole in the ground, I almost lost control, but I managed to stay on the bike, and you can see that I missed one corner and Rauba with Dumčius went in front. Actually, when riding after Dumčius, as well as looking at the footage, I kind of enjoy the way how he goes in the single tracks. If I'm not mistaken, he's racing for quite a long time, and it seems like he completely doesn't need to brake in those corners, so that's very nice skill set for him. And actually he's very fast on the flat as well. Fast in my terms. Again, I decided that with fully I should go a bit more in front, because we were even more unrolling meadow in front, as well as single tracks, which can cause a bit of a bottleneck. And I don't know, it seems like the guys didn't sit on my tail too much in this, so it was probably a good decision, but it cost me a bit an effort. So basically quite a lot of remained similar from the last year. Just because I didn't do the recce of the course, I kind of forgot some parts, and I haven't watched the video even though I had it on my own channel recorded by myself. Yet somehow, because the course kind of should have changed a bit, I thought that, well, we will see. So we are seeing. Towards the end of the first lap, a few guys went in front on the straight paved road, and I didn't mind that. I took some time to eat a gel and drink, but the thing here in this situation was I kind of knew all those guys except one, and that one was with Esportas jersey, and I didn't look very carefully, but I thought that it might be Ignas Ambrazas, who's a very strong rider, but from time to time he comes to those races to do some training sessions, so he is not even pushing full throttle. So I thought that, okay, maybe that's the reason why he's between us, because he's definitely stronger. So with that in mind, I was riding further. Yet on the last section I noticed that the guy from Sportomani is strong on the flats and he's very powerful, but whenever it comes to the cornering, he kind of opened the gap between other guys, so I decided to overtake him and sit on Ambrazas' back. So eventually it turned out to be that it was Jonas Guldys, orienteer, who came here for the race as well. But the reason why I kind of thought, again, why it might be Ambrazas, not because only of a Sportas jersey and all that stuff, but because he pedaled very efficiently. So he didn't do any stupid power surges, he just went efficiently and pedaled efficiently all the time. So it was constant effort by him. At least I could have taken a look over my shoulder to make sure that it's him, but I didn't do that, and I continued riding with that idea. Here was the area where course intersected with other part of the lap, but there were marshals which made sure that that connection would go smoothly enough, so it was not problematic at all. And here again the same section, which was bumpy in the forest, and you can see that it was 20 plus kilometers per hour, when the gravel bike in front it was around 10 or so. We should mention that that previous jump was improved significantly from the past year, so it was added new material on that fallen tree or what it was. So usually, unfortunately, that doesn't always happens in Lithuania, that the courses are improved. That's an exception when it comes to Akmenės, so thumbs up for those. I guess it's Laimonas Kabeikis who does part of this maintenance of the course, so whoever do that, good job guys, and keep improving that and raising the bar for others to catch up as well. Again, Ambrazas. Alright, so I will stop calling it Ambrazas, it was Jonas Guldys. So he went with Sereika in front. And the thing is that when you go in such road which have a bit of ditches from the tires where the cars ridden, it's very complicated to follow from the back, because if someone moves out and you follow him blindly, you move as well, and it's kind of a tricky thing. But thankfully on this rail road, again, I didn't have to suffer in the front, so shout out to Sereika, who did an amazing job on this straight. So you can see that we're coasting 30 plus like nothing. Actually, the leaders of the course went one lap in average of 26 kilometers per hour or so. There wasn't a lot of elevation, 200s or so. So it was kind of fast, even though considering it had some meadow and all that bumpy thing. Sereika is an ex, or maybe he is still doing it, but he participated in triathlon for multiple years, so he has great skills off the bike and on the bike, and you could have seen that he's fast on the legs as well, so he overtook us by foot. There was a mistake I made here by sitting on the wheel of Jonas for a while, and eventually I had not too much powers left to catch the guys. Even though I kind of made a surge here, as well as I knew that in front will be single tracks, so the thought process was, alright, I will do a bit effort here and they won't disappear in the single tracks. Well, maybe they won't disappear, who knows? But I can go a bit in front and let you know that they did. And the thing with those meadows looks like the guys are so close, but you are climbing here and it's a bit wet as well. It kind of drains you into the ground, and it's a horrible feeling. Akmenės is very nice because you have these type of single tracks, even though you don't have too much cornering here. It's just this type of area is more like you just make sure not to hit the tree, but it's nice. It's good to go in the fast speed and enjoy that moment. Actually, when you know that in front there is some tricky place and you did it in the first lap successfully through the left or the right or through the center, you kind of almost without thinking trying to cross it in the same way as you did on the previous lap. Well, you can see that it didn't work here, and even though I passed that ditch successfully, but the front wheel went so deep that on one moment I thought that, well, potentially I could stop here, but I somehow managed to go through. And you can see that even though on the first lap I successfully went here on the right, here the rear wheel just slipped over and it was a lucky moment for me uphill. This one kind of drops you into the air, but because you don't know exactly how much it will do it for you, you just try to make sure that you are not adding too much throttle here. But if it would be not the race, it would be interesting to testify how much speed you can get in order to jump the whole gap successfully. During the race, whenever I rode alone, like no one was in front, all the time someone was behind me. So this time it was Jonas following from behind, and in previous lap was 3 or 4 guys all the time. 2 of those, Sareka with Dumchus, went ahead, and we left here again with Jonas. The tricky thing when 2 of people go together towards the end of the race is that if you go a bit too slow, you can be punished by someone who's coming from the back, excited to catch you. So we had this type of situation with Antanas Viravičius in Ignalina last season, where Ukrainian guy went like a rocket and overtook us at the end. So we didn't, at least I didn't want to experience the same thing as well, so I pushed more, and Jonas responded. By the way, there was Neringa who captured a lot of beautiful images, so if you are interested, I will drop down a link in the description so you can have a look at those images yourself. However, his response ended around 1 kilometer towards the end of the race, where I opened the throttle, so either he didn't even try to, or he had nothing left in his legs. But this finish loop was amazing. Even though you couldn't overtake easily someone, it was very technical and nice to have before the finish. So it's exceptional, as well as the whole Akmenės course. Actually, during the full onboard premiere, I made a poll and asked people what do they think about this course, and a lot of people, actually 80% out of 16 who voted, so for me it's a lot, said that the course was brilliant, 10 out of 10. So that's it. Thanks for your time, and I hope to see you around.